Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario. It's a completely different video than normal because I haven't really done a video like this directly, and there's not all too many times I really highlight a specific mod on here. And the odd thing about this here is I can't even really link this mod directly because it's not like there's a patch file or anything. But you know when there's just something way back in the back of your mind, just from an old memory of some kind, and you clearly remember it, but it's something that you can't really find that much info on, or maybe you've never looked it up before, or maybe it just sounds too unrealistic, and you share it with people and you describe this, and it's like, people believe you, but it also sounds unbelievable at the same time, so you're not 100% sure. Well, that moment ended up happening pretty recently, where there was one morning I woke up. I guess Twitter is a good place for me, at least. I enjoy my presence on there. I enjoy hanging out on Twitter. Like, my experience is pretty good, but I woke up, and shortly after waking up, I got onto Twitter, and I ended up seeing this tweet here, which just brought so much back, and it just made me smile. It's from user quill_dev, and they state here, fun Resident Evil 4 fact. There's a fan-made Arabic version of the game released back when the game first came out. It uses the worst possible microphones for voice acting. The girls weren't dubbed, so they spoke in English, and when you die, Quran starts playing. Thanks to Hades KTP for reminding me of it. Then I saw video footage of it, and not only it was hilarious, but it just brought me back to a point where it was very much, I remember this. I remember this version. Now, I just want to share this a little bit because this was just unbelievable for me, and even better was I got to re-experience it. And let me tell you, I was here screaming, laughing, just laughing because what they said here sounds completely unbelievable, but I can assure you this is a totally believable thing that actually did happen, that unearthed memories from 16 years ago. You see, there's been a few times I visited the country of Jordan because I do have family there. Now, this is also to kind of talk about how games and even game piracy was over there. I don't want to stray too far off topic, however, I do kind of need to explain how all this came about. Now, at the time I went, which this would have been, this visit at least was 2006, I want to say, when I ended up going there, when it came to consoles, first of all, when it came to gaming in general, PC was the most popular there because it was the most accessible and the easiest to pirate for. Now, when it came to game consoles, I will say this, the Middle East loves PlayStation, and it's not because of some brand loyalty with Sony. Maybe that's a little bit of it, because they did enjoy Sony before the PlayStation, even the first one came out. But the reason why I say that is because PlayStation consoles have historically usually been easier to pirate for. When it came to the PlayStation 1, whenever you would buy a console in the Middle East, most likely you would not get it from an official Sony store or any other super official storefront. You would be getting it from a shop that had already installed a mod chip in there, letting you play pirated, backed up games, or even imported discs on there. The same thing with the PlayStation 2. That same thing happened on there. So if you bought a PlayStation 2, you would have to pay more for it over there, and do keep in mind, many times in many different countries there in that region, the income is going to be lower, so it is definitely a luxury item. However, if you did get your hands on a PlayStation 2 at the time, not only they were much more expensive because they were imported, but they were also fitted with a mod chip, letting you play burned, backed up, imported, pirated games on there. And the reason why you would do this is because, yes, you're paying a lot more up front, but when you end up finding those bootleg games, which are all over the place or were at the time, you can get PlayStation 1 and 2 games for like $1 or $2 each. That's converting over to US dollars, mind you, and I'll actually even show you here. Alright, I literally had to go over and run to grab this here, but just as a comparison, this is what you would be getting. Now, this is a typical officially released game right here, nothing bootleg about this. Parasite Eve 2, a fantastic game on the original PlayStation. Really great game. Unfortunately, I guess I misremembered, but I am disappointed to find out that this version does not have the manual, unfortunately. But you can see the discs right here, and if we check on the bottom, these are the iconic black PS1 discs. So this is how an official one would look. You know, nothing all too crazy about this. Fantastic game, though. Definitely play the Parasite Eve games if you can. And I'm going to show you a bootleg version of that. Now, this is one that I got in Jordan at one point, and as you can see, it does not come in a nice single or even double jewel case like this. It just comes in a sleeve. This is exactly how you would get something like this here. Also, you're going to notice the disc here looks completely different, while as you do have this right here, completely different in regards to this. I'll just show you. Check this out. These are also not burned either. These are typically referred to as silvers, and that was, yep, they come in, oh man, come in this, and they are called silvers because here's disc 1, here's disc 2, check it out, silver. And the reason why they are like this is because they're actually pressed. These are pressed in factories. However, even though they're pressed in factories, they are unofficial factories. They don't have the security sectors, or not security sectors, but wobble grooves in here. So that means that despite them being pressed, yeah, they would typically play better than just a burned CDR. However, in order to play these, you will need to do a swap trick, or you will need to have a modified system, like a hard modded system, which no one was doing swap tricks over there, because why would you do that when you can go to a shop and when you buy one, it's going to have a mod chip in there. So either way, this is usually how it goes on here. I always like showing these things off as well too. Like, these are just cool. Sometimes I'll just like show them to friends and stuff because they're really funny and really awesome to see all at the same time. Now, the reason why I wanted to explain that is because that is how the, I guess, bootleg game market had worked there, at least at the time. I'm sure it's been so long, and also with, you know, newer systems and such, it's completely different and moved to mostly digital. But when it came down to that, a lot of games, you couldn't just get them easily. You'd have to go to shops, you'd have to find which ones had them. Some of them had, you know, different quality rips, different quality, I guess, releases than others, but then you also ran into shops that had translated versions as well too. I know soccer games or football games were incredibly common over there to see Arabic editions of them, where it was essentially a ROM hack where the game was translated into Arabic and you could play it that way. Typically they'd also have, you know, updated rosters and all that fun stuff. Now, I found out about this so many years ago because when I ended up going there in 2006, one of my cousins was playing Resident Evil 4. He had a PlayStation 2, he was playing it on there, and he loves the Resident Evil series. Here's another thing with the Middle East, I guess. They love Resident Evil. They love Sony, they love Resident Evil. But he ended up playing Resident Evil 4 at the time, and he had told me that there was an Arabic version of the game. And at the time, you know, we were both young teenagers, so we didn't really know what to expect on this, and we were thinking, oh, it was going to be nothing official, mind you, but we thought it would be, you know, a little more professional and all that. So I heard about this, and at one point, I was going to a few shops, and I ended up seeing a copy of Resident Evil 4 that had some Arabic text on there. Like, it had the regular cover and everything, well, regular cover, but then it had, you know, Arabic text on the front, kind of a subtitle, and then it had a whole lot of Arabic on the back of it. And I found the Arabic edition of Resident Evil 4, and it was just like that, except it came in, you know, kind of a DVD slip cover, and it was a silver, just the same as all the other ones that you would find. So I paid no more than $2 for it at the time. Of course, it was in Jordanian dinar, but I'm kind of just converting here. I paid, you know, about the equivalent of that, and I gave it to my cousin, and he was thankful for it, and I was excited to see it as well, too, because I wanted to see what this Arabic version was about. And this was hilarious to us. Now, I have seen, looking at this now, it looked like the version that my cousin was playing even originally, just the one in English, was the European version. The European version actually seemed to work pretty well for Resident Evil 4 because not only it was a multi-5 release, meaning that it had 5 languages built in, but it also even had an option right at the beginning, right after you pick your language, to run the game in either 50 Hz or 60 Hz, which is really cool to see. So when it comes to the PS2, it seems like Resident Evil 4, like the European release of it, is probably the better one to get if you want, you know, as much stuff on there and accessibility as possible. So we were expecting, you know, it'll probably just have everything translated in Arabic, right? Everything there. And we were both excited to check it out. To our surprise, we end up firing it up, and at the beginning of the game, you have to pick your language. And we were thinking there would be an Arabic option on there, right? No. No, there was not. So we just said, okay, English, sure, why not? Next up, then, you had to pick between 50 or 60 hertz. He picked 60 hertz, seemed to work fine. I don't even think we really knew the big difference at the time. It was more just, hey, 60 is higher than 50, so it's probably going to be way much more better at that point. Then we get into it and we're seeing the menus are all in English. Like, what is going on here? So then he decides to start up a new game, and I'm gonna have some footage here, right? I'm gonna have some footage because I had to play this again myself. I played it just like 10-15 minutes of it, right? And I was just screaming, laughing. You have the first cutscene comes in, and the original audio is completely cut out. And then you have a gentleman speaking in Arabic, but he is so close to the microphone. And it's not a good microphone at all either. This is like a microphone that you would buy for $5 somewhere in 2006. And I'm gonna put in some video with the audio, and I'm gonna tell you all right now. First of all, kind of a headphone warning. Second, I'm not going to tweak the audio. I'm not going to clean it up. I'm not going to boost the audio or anything. I'm just going to put it in here from what I captured. The best part is then at one point, I love just how unrefined this is, because then at another point, like in that same initial cutscene, when everything's being translated to Arabic, there's even a part where like the original music from the cutscene comes back in, and then it just cuts right back out. So the original, I don't think I'll be able to get through this video properly. Oh my god, this is way too funny to me. Just listen to this, right?
Resident Evil 4.
1998 لن أنسى تلك الحادثة. الحق أقول لكم لن أنسى. حينما استخدم فيها جميع الناس للقتل، واستخدمت فيها كثير من الأدوات، ومن ضمنها الفيروس الرهيب الذي كان من اختراع شركة امبريلا التي سوف تنتهي وانتهى. وكان هذا الفيروس فتاك جدا، حتى انه قضى على مدينة راكون سيتي كاملة، حتى انه قامت كثير من المنظمات والمؤسسات والوزارات في الدفاع لحماية تلك المدينة، ولكن دون جدوى.
There's also times like whoever was recording this did not know about balancing or even like mic placement or anything. Because again, mind you, this is, mods that are being recorded somewhere in 2006. Like, this is not professional at all. But there's times when, kind of a headphone warning to you all, he's like super close to the microphone like this, just like really intensely talking into the microphone. And then there's times where he's like so far away, and he's like talking really quietly in there.
المعذرة يا سيدي. هل تعرف هذه الفتاة التي في الصورة؟
¿Qué carajo estás haciendo aquí? ¡Lárgate, cabrón!
أنا آسف.
There's another cutscene as well when Leon is in the vehicle, like going into the village and everything, where in the original dub, there is music playing in the background, but in this translated dub, he has music. The person who's talking is talking like this into the mic, and he has completely unrelated music playing in the background, like it's coming off a phone like this. Just listen to this, please, just so you don't think I'm making this up.
Why am I the one who always gets the short end of the stick? You.
من أنت بحق؟
Come on and tell us.
هل تحب وطنك وطن الكوبوي أيها الغريب؟
Please.
على أي حال مما قلت سوف نذهب ونبحث عن ابنة الرئيس المفقودة، لأني كلفت بذلك. لوحدك؟ أنا متأكد سوف أجدها، لأني متأكد من ذلك.
Then I think maybe the most offending part to this is that it's not a full translation by any means on here. You see, I've really only been showing the cutscenes because the cutscenes are the parts that are dubbed in Arabic that have been translated, but all the menus are still in their original languages, all the items, of course, any of the talking in-game. So anything that is in-engine, like, for example, whenever you're talking to Hunnigan, all of that is still in the original language. So even if, let's say, you only know Arabic and you're just trying to rely on this, it's not a great translation or localization, or I guess fan-made localization experience on there, because I would say much less than half of the game is translated, since the entire game is not cutscenes. Now, this made me laugh so much and just brought back so much joy to the point that I ended up contacting my cousin again, and I was just like, hey, do you remember this? I was so excited. I was like, do you remember this? Do you remember this here? And he said yes, and then we talked about it a little bit. Now, for anybody who's also wondering, okay, well, maybe it's not that bad of a translation to get through. Yeah, okay, it was recorded kind of rough on there. It's still playable, mind you, right? Even at the time, I remember in 2006, like a few weeks later, I spoke with my cousin again. I asked how he was enjoying the Arabic edition of Resident Evil 4. And he actually said he switched back to the regular version of it and was playing in English again because the translation that was done in those cutscenes was not very accurate, or just had some things that were missing or not translated properly. So unfortunately, it actually made the game harder for him when he was trying to figure some things out and he was trying to solve some puzzles. So even though Arabic is his first language and English was a second language of his, he was just choosing to go back to the original English version just because it didn't have those translation issues. When I talked to him about it now and he was looking back on it 16 years ago, it was actually even worse than we had originally thought. He told me this version was literally unplayable. It was unplayable because he said the translation was not good. The actual quality of the cutscenes themselves, of course, you heard little bits of it there with the microphone quality on that. The odd choices on everything, just because not only it was not fully translated, but even just the Quran was playing whenever you die, that does happen in there. He said it kind of felt like an abridged parody version of Resident Evil 4. And it was like a joke to play through it, so he couldn't, it was unplayable to him. Now, do I want to spend all of my time just like completely knocking this version of Resident Evil 4? Not really, no. I do want to say something positive about it. I think this is cool to see that someone at least tried their hand at this, and this version did get out there, mind you, and I'm sure there's some people a lot of people I'm sure, who played it who were disappointed with it, but, this was a valiant effort in there. And, of course, it wasn't going to be an official, studio-made version of this by any means, and that's kind of what we were expecting. Like, we were even expecting when you first boot up the game, Arabic would be a feature on there, like a language you can pick, but unfortunately that was not the case. So I think it might have been a situation where they were trying their best, but maybe this project was just a little too much for the person who was working on it, because I'm pretty sure it was like one person who was doing all the translation and the dubbing and everything on there. There's no credits on this either. Like we don't have anyone to credit for this, unfortunately, because the game itself has not been modified. It's only the cutscenes. I think it also goes to show that not only Resident Evil 4 and just the Resident Evil series itself is really popular and beloved over in the Middle East, that somebody would actually try their hand at doing this and released it, and this version was selling as well too. Now, did people know how rough this was when they were buying it? Probably not. However, I do appreciate this, and it's cool seeing this so many years in advance before there was any official market penetration from Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft, really, like when it came to gaming divisions over in the Middle East. We didn't really see that until the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, so really we're saying 2013 and later. Yes, there were other older systems that were out there, but again, typically they would have to be imported. And really even now you're just seeing that official support in Saudi Arabia and UAE, which is certainly better than nothing. Part of this as well also brings about the fact that there are official localizations, translations, dubs, subs, and everything over there for games as well too. From what I understand, Horizon Zero Dawn is actually fully localized in Arabic, meaning not only the items, the menus, the subtitles are there, but it's even dubbed. It's fully dubbed in Arabic. Now, if anybody is watching this and they're wondering, well, wait, Arabic's not on my copy of Horizon Zero Dawn, apparently you do have to get it over there. Like, it is truly localized, so you would have to be connected to the Saudi Arabia or United Arab Emirates PlayStation Network store to digitally buy it, or you'd have to pick up a physical copy over there that has been sold for that region. There's other games as well too that don't go the entire dubbing route, but Witcher 3, for example, is subtitled in Arabic, and I'm pretty sure it's censored as well too for many different aspects. But again, that's not going to be in the the worldwide releases. It's more going to be a release that you buy over there that has been released specific for the Middle Eastern region. So it's cool seeing game companies embracing that as well too. Overall, this is kind of just a one-off video where I wanted to share, I guess, a bit of a childhood memory and it kind of being brought back to the forefront again, and something that made me really happy, something I got to relive a little bit, and something that made me laugh quite a bit. And also I got to show you one of my silvers as well too. So it's fun doing videos like this. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, a like would absolutely be appreciated. And if you didn't like it, a dislike is fine as well too.